May 23rd, 2009. Loading up the bus.
That's the only one that rated higher than
Here we go.
Hi. Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, fratres and sorors, honored guests, welcome to the Sarah landing site and to today's activities. Can you all hear me in the back, please?
Yes.
In many of the writings of H. Spencer Lewis, founder of the Rosicrucian order in America nearly a century ago, references are made to an early Rosicrucian presence in California during the earliest years of the 17th century. For example, in The Light of Egypt, a document written for the public in 1927, is a section entitled America's First Rosicrucians. It states that the first Rosicrucians to come to America and to bring their wisdom to this new country were those who journeyed to the Pacific coast early in the 17th century and deposited there the foundation stone and documents of the last CRC of Europe. This mystical tradition was mentioned still earlier in a poem published in the Order's magazine in 1920, along with later writings by Lewis and many others. Today, in 2009, we assemble here to celebrate the traditional mystical influence that this wonderful area has had on H. Spencer Lewis and on the many Rosicrucians who have followed him. We stand on one of the many sacred spots that Rosicrucians from around the world have come to know. We will visit another one near the Carmel mission this afternoon. Here, on this spot, is where Father Sarah in 1769 and Sebastian Pizcaino in 1602 worked to establish a permanent Spanish presence in Northern California. chartered by the Viceroy for New Spain, the Basque merchant and explorer Sebastian Vizcaino set sail from Acapulco on Sunday, May 5th, 1602. After 8 months at sea, Vizcaino's ships entered Monterey Bay on the night of December 16th. The bay, which is in back of us, was considered to be the fruit of their voyage, a resting place for ships returning from the Western Pacific. On the next day, Vizcaino sent parties ashore near what is now Fisherman's Wharf in downtown Monterey to obtain water, food, wood, and an assessment of the resources and fertility of the land. They established and regularly used a makeshift church in a tent erected under a large oak tree on the very hill where we now stand. It was here that they decided to send one of their ships back to Acapulco with copies of the maps and reports made during the voyage. This ship sailed on December 29th during a time of deteriorating weather, increasing snow in the inland mountains, and freezing of freshwater streams near the shore. A party was sent ashore on Wednesday, January 1st, 1603, to obtain fresh water from the Carmel River 5 miles to the south, which was so named by Vizcaino himself. The supplies were replenished late on that January 3rd. On that final day, Vizcaino and 11 others traveled overland from Monterey Bay for one last visit to the Valley of Carmel, all of them returning by nightfall. Vizcaino and the remaining ships left Monterey Bay late on Friday, January 3rd, heading north toward Cape Mendocino and then turning south to arrive in Mexico on February 17th, 1603. A total of 18 days were spent here in the Monterey Bay and in the Carmel areas. The location of Vizcaino's landing site in southern Monterey Bay is located just below us. You may have seen a Celtic cross in a fenced area at the corner of Lighthouse and Artillery Streets. We can see that as we drive back down through here later this morning. The hill where we now stand is marked by a statue, this one erected in 1891, commemorating Father Serra's later discovery and reoccupation of Vizcaino's site. The second site of importance this weekend is located just south of here, adjacent to the present Carmel Mission. The basilica itself was built originally around 1774 and rebuilt in its present form in 1797. The adobe brick buildings adjacent to the church were in existence before 1800, but there are no documents available to us that describe when or by whom they were built. They fell into disrepair less than 50 years later. We will visit the mission complex this afternoon, now beautifully restored and in active use. H. Spencer Lewis explored the adobe brick ruins several times since first visiting them in 1918, and relates in his writings how inspired he was while working among them. Many of us are drawn to certain places, people, and times as though they hold some special significance for us.